All right, Jesse on Fire, bright and early on Monday. We're going to talk about The Rock and Joe Rogan and the backlash to The Rock going on Joe Rogan's podcast. Do you believe the audacity of this guy going on Joe Rogan's podcast? A problematic racist who spread misinformation about all kinds of medical procedures. The number of deaths he's responsible for are hard to even imagine. He's the most problematic person in the world. And that's definitely because of the opinions that he has, as opposed to the fact that he has the biggest podcast in the world and he's not listening to the people who tell you what you're allowed to say. It's because he's actually racist. He's spreading misinformation. That's why. Anywho, so, you could just expect this stuff anytime someone really big decides that they're going to publicly show you that, like, hey, I'm friends with Joe Rogan. You are going to get backlash. And we have the Bellator and PFL news coming out later, I hear, and yeah, I'm going to talk about that later. But this is a much more interesting story to me because I just like to kind of lift the covers off the world that we live in. And I'm going to take you back a year ago, a little more than, I haven't even been, I don't know. It was 2022 when we had a very interesting interaction between Joe Rogan and The Rock through social media. And it uncovered what is a very obvious phenomenon to me, which is that these celebrities are working their accounts sometimes, and other times, there's someone else working them. And you can usually figure out which of those it is based on certain key indicators, which I will show you right here when it comes to problematic topics. There are keywords where you're like, yeah, there's no way The Rock said that. That's not a word The Rock would use. That terminology came straight out of Stanford's, gender studies department, And why did they go into PR? I don't know, because they just know all the woke talking points that someone told them it's really important that you can touch on all the problematic things. And you're like, hey, so that was 2022, It's 2023 now, almost 2024. Now, it's risky to put that stuff in writing, Like, it's much riskier to identify yourself as someone who's aligned with that stuff, because no one will buy your stuff. But anyway, so that's what we're going to talk about, and it's going to be a good time. It's my favorite kind of topic. You guys know that. I love talking MMA, but I love talking this stuff even more. So look forward to the Jesse on Fire podcast launching in January. Actual audio only, well, not only, we'll post the episodes, but long form. It'll be available on Spotify and everywhere else that you get the, downloadable podcast stuff. What? You guys know where to get podcasts. If you listen to podcasts, you know where to get them. It'll be there. And that's the kind of stuff I'll be talking about. But also, if you have not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and do that. I am going to also tell you guys that there are some serious Black Friday deals on Happy Hippo right now. And you guys should check them out. Go to Happy Hippo. There's ridiculous deals, actually. Happy Hippo, Kratom. Go give them a look. They have all kinds of crazy stuff on the website, and they're doing huge discounts, huge Black Friday discounts. So go give them a look and use the promo code jesseonfire. You guys will love it, and that's what we're going to do. And subscribe to this channel, for God's sake. If you haven't yet, just get on it. I mean, geez, it's important for me, and that's what matters. I'm just kidding. But I know most people don't, YouTube doesn't really care that much about subscribing, but I do. I care. It matters to me, and it matters for other things, but not necessarily for how many times your videos get recommended. But Jesse, stop talking. Okay, sorry. All right, so let's go and let's look at this, right? So today, what we're looking at is, oh my God, I can't believe that The Rock would go on Joe Rogan's podcast because Joe Rogan is problematic and blah, 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 blah. It's like so ridiculous. The funniest thing about that narrative, if you want to look for people who are, if you want to look for people who are hating on Joe Rogan, you'll never have to look very far because he has the biggest show in the world. What's hilarious about it, though, the people who are like, I can't believe that you are giving airtime to this guy. You're like, dude, are you serious? People are going to listen to him no matter what. You know what I mean? Like, you really think that guest going on his show is going to impact his viewership? But that's the number one thing that I hear where I'm like, this is the dumbest argument ever. It's the dumbest argument ever. They are not platforming Joe. Joe is platforming them. And by the way, you, person on Twitter who is saying this idiotic stuff, if Joe Rogan invited you on his show, you would look at the requirements. And if it was like, you can come and be a guest on my show, all you have to do is strip naked, run through Times Square, screaming like a banshee and going live on every single platform that allows you to stream, humiliate yourself in 18 different other ways. They'd be like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So stop acting like you wouldn't go on if he invited you, you nobody weirdo. Like, give me a break. And you want to know what would happen? This is the funny thing. You want to know what would happen to any of you weird haters that go, oh my God, he went on Joe Rogan. They would go on Joe Rogan. They would do an episode. They would sit there and talk for as long as Joe could tolerate them, probably in their case, an hour and a half. And they would come out of there and be like, he's actually pretty cool. You're like, oh, yeah, he is pretty cool, And you know how you could have known that without having to go on his show? Is you could have watched a single episode before you started running your mouth. You probably could have just watched like one episode, and then you would have gone, well, it's what they told me in the media was not real. Shocker. Anyway, so here's what I wanted to talk about. This is a story that I wanted to bring you guys back to, right? So if you guys recall, this happened, right? So this was, let me see when this was. So this was February of 22. Okay, so this was actually a long time ago. But this was back when the media decided that they were going to make a coordinated effort to attack Rogan because he had platformed people. And I think this was actually after he had Sanjay Gupta on. I'm pretty sure that he had Sanjay on, and then he just really, really, really embarrassed him. What's funniest about that, if you guys don't remember, Sanjay Gupta is like the doctor on CNN that was always going, I think everybody needs to go get the shot. Now, he actually strikes me as a pretty good dude, but Joe really made him look like, okay, so which one of these guys seems to be more educated on the studies? And it was like, you would think it's the doctor on CNN. And it's like, no, not necessarily. Looks like Joe really made him look stupid. And so they went into damage control and they tried to tear Rogan's life apart. And they went and, did this like compilation of Joe using the N-word every single time, insanely dishonestly, like where he was singing it in a song or he was using it in an analytical conversation. Why does why does this word hold such power over whatever? He's never calling a person that. He was never saying anything that was even remotely dangerous. He said, or racist. The only thing that he said that was even could be moderately construed as racist was when he was telling the story about them going to that super ghetto movie theater, and he said it was like, I can't remember exactly, something like, it was legitimately like 15 years ago. He said something like, we got out of there, it was like gorillas in the mist, something like that. That just indicated we were in a very ghetto, very African-American heavy movie theater. And it was like, but here's the thing, like, is that racist? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, well, he's referring to black people as gorillas. You're like, I guess. That's the best, that's the most racist thing that you could possibly find. And you're talking 15 years ago. It's like, get out of here, dude. Everybody knows he's not a racist. This is so stupid. So, Dwayne Johnson, who you may recall as being the biggest movie star in the world, he is friends with Rogan, obviously. And so he tweeted support for him, right? So I wanted to read this to you because, look, Dwayne Johnson appears to withdraw Joe Rogan's support after N-word video because he first tweeted his own support. Then his PR team got involved. Now, anybody who, anybody who is unclear about the relationship between PR people and people who are heavy, really big deals in Hollywood. Like there are no Hollywood stars that do not have a professional PR team. That's not a thing. That's just not a thing. All of them do. And they have a certain amount of influence over their PR team, but the PR team has a lot of influence over what happens, right? So like if you're getting paid $20 million plus per movie, and someone's like, listen, dude, this studio is not going to hire you if you stick with that, man. We got to put something out. It's like, dude, I'm not going to disown my friend. So let me just read this and we'll show exactly what was said and then what he came back with. And then we'll discuss the entire, the phenomenon of PR teams. So where is this thing? Okay. So Dwayne Johnson, the actor, former wrestling star, retracted what had seemed his unconditional support for Joe Rogan amid continued fallout from the controversial podcaster's use of racist language. Rogan apologized after the singer-songwriter India Ari posted a social media posted to social media a video montage of him saying the N-word about 20 times on his podcast. The video include. Can you listen? Do you have any idea the amount of hours that it took to put that video together? Like, do you really think that I mean, sometimes you need to think logistics just to even understand what kind of people are behind this stuff. Okay, do you have any idea how many? Actually, I guess we do have exactly an idea. Let's look at how many episodes of the Joe Rogan podcast there are. Okay, so if I was going to watch the most recent one, that would be number 2064. Okay, so a year ago, it would probably be 17, around then, like to call it 1,700, maybe 1,500 lowest side. Each one of those things is multiple hours. Do you have any idea how much work it would be to go through all of those episodes looking for him saying anything racist? It's insane. The best they could come up with was like one word things. They couldn't find a single thing of him saying a sentence that was obviously a racist sentence, aside from the one example that I gave you. That is my point about all of these coordinated hits. It's obvious. It's so obvious that they're coordinated when you just peel back the onion and think about the logistics of how you could make them. Okay? The Russell Brand thing. How on earth do all of these women come together? How does that happen? There are no police reports. There are no incident reports. These are from 17 to 10 years ago. How do they come together for this article in The Guardian? How does that happen? An investigative journalist goes out and finds them or conjures them up or, cooks them up. The Joe Rogan N-word video. How does that happen? Someone has to watch all of the episodes, dude. You're talking thousands and thousands of hours. Who has the money and the resources to do a thing like that? Okay? This is not just some person hanging out that's all, let me just see if Rogan's done anything racist. You're talking about like a team of people hired by, I don't know if I was going to guess Pfizer, but, who knows? Who knows? So, anywho, in response to the tweet, Johnson had publicly praised Rogan's podcast to a growing Spotify boycott triggered by the dissemination of misinformation. Okay. In response to a tweet from the author Don Winslow reprimanding him for defending Rogan, who has almost 16 million followers, wrote, "I hear you as well as everyone here 100%. I'm sorry. This is what The Rock said back. This is what was done by his PR team for sure, right? So I hear you as well as everyone here 100%. I was not aware of his N-word use prior to my comments, but now I've become educated to his complete narrative. Learning moment for me." Okay, so that right there, in all honesty, that right there, as you read it, demonstrates that The Rock is actually a good dude. Like, people broke his balls about that because it was characterized as him, the headlines. He completely pulls his support from Joe Rogan. And it's like, it's not really what he said, Not what he said. He didn't pull his support from Joe Rogan. He said he wasn't aware that he had used the N-word, okay? And then he said, I'm now educated to his complete narrative, Let's actually pick apart what he said. And then, so let's actually go here. Like, this is, because this is all about the media. Perfect example. Dwayne Johnson appears to withdraw Joe Rogan support, okay? After N-word video. So, just so we're clear, Joe Rogan used the N-word. Let's remind you of that. And Dwayne Johnson, the biggest movie star in the world, has pulled his support away from Joe Rogan. And it's like, all right, well, let's analyze what you just said. So here is what he actually said, okay? He says, I hear you as well as everyone here. Cool. So he says, I hear you guys. That's not pulling support. Then he says, I was not aware of his N-word use prior to my comments. Also not pulling his support. Yeah, I didn't know that he said that. That's just a statement, right? I didn't know he said that. Okay? Then, but now I've become educated to his complete narrative. Okay? So he's like, yeah, I didn't know about that. Now I do. And then he says, learning moment for me. So he learned that Joe Rogan had used the N-word in these situations that he now has seen. Okay? Let me break that down just so we're clear. All he said was, I hadn't seen that video before. Now I have. Sounds like he's pulling his support. Isn't. Crystal clear. Not. And what that means is that his PR team probably wrote something that was like, Joe Rogan is a terrible person, and I just can't believe that I was ever friends with him. He's a racist. He's a terrible person. He spreads COVID misinformation, and everybody should just disown him and never listen to his podcast again. And The Rock's all, I have an idea. How about you shorten that down and send another draft? Do your best, and don't say anything negative about Rogan whatsoever, and definitely don't pull my support. And they're like, whoa. He's like, do your best. Bye. Click. And then he whittled them down to this. I hear you, as well as everyone here, 100%. I hear you guys, you know. This is old Twitter, by the way. This is old Twitter, where anybody who was like, give me a break, Rogan's not a racist, they're all deprioritize that, get it out of there. And everyone's like, he's terrible, he's the worst, he's racist, he's spreading misinformation. They're all throttle it. Put him on the special algorithm. I hear all of you 100%. I was not aware of this. Learning moment for me. Shut up, dude. To all of them, I mean. So, what about, like, you know what the funniest example of that phenomenon is? The funniest of all time is when The Bachelor was black, right? The Bachelor was black, and he ended up, I'm pretty sure, hold on. I'm pretty sure that, hang on, let me pull this up for you guys. Whoa. Yeah, like, oh my God, who could have guessed that there was the first Bachelor with a black lead was swept into a racism firestorm? I never could have predicted that. It was like he first defended the girl who he had chosen, by the way. So she's like, yes, I would love to marry him. I would love to marry him. And then they like dug up some thing of her at like a party dressed as like an old Southern belle or some shit like that. And he wrote a tweet that was like, guys, come on. He's like engaged to her at the time. And then when the backlash came, the fake backlash on Twitter, by the way, his response that clearly a PR team had written was the most woke, idiotic, nightmarish thing I've ever read in my life. I laughed out loud while simultaneously being so furious that like my eyes were bleeding. I was like, I cannot believe that this guy allowed this to get put out. I realize he's new to Hollywood, but shame on you, dude. Shame on you. He clearly didn't write it, but it was like, I mean, if you guys can find it, what's this guy's name? Hang on. So it is the Matt James. Yeah. Okay. So hang on. Matt James tweet racism. Hang on. I've got to find this dude because this is just so ridiculous. I remember this was right before we moved to Austin. Dude, really? Where is it? This is just challenging, man. Is this it? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, here we go. Watch this. This was about a girl that wanted to marry him, okay? Keep that in mind. This girl wanted to marry him. The past few weeks have been some of the most challenging of my life. And while there are several episodes left of the season, which he can't spoil for you, but he's going to get engaged to the girl that we're talking about being some super racist, it is important that I take the time to address the troubling information that has come to light since we wrapped filming, including the incredible disappointing photos of Rachel Kirkconnell and the interview between Rachel Lindsay and Chris Harrison. The reality is that I'm learning about these situations in real time, and it has been devastating and heartbreaking, to put it bluntly. Give me a fucking break. There is no way that he wrote this. Chris's failure to receive and understand the emotional labor that my friend Rachel Lindsay was taking on by graciously and patiently explaining the racist history of the antebellum South. Oh my God, I forgot about that. The pain of the antebellum South, a painful history that every American should understand intimately, was troubling and painful to watch. They fired Chris Harrison over this. As black people and allies immediately knew and understood, it was a clear reflection of a much larger issue that the Bachelor franchise has fallen short on addressing adequately for years. This moment has sparked critical conversations and reporting, raised important questions, and resulted in inspiring displays of solidarity from the Bachelor Nation. It has also pushed me to reevaluate and process what my experience on The Bachelor represents, not just for me, but for all of the contestants of color, especially the black contestants of the season and seasons past, and for you and the viewers at home. I will continue to process the experience, and you will hear more from me in the end. My greatest prayer is that this is an inflection point that results in real and institutional change for the better. Shut the fuck up, dude. That is 10 times more embarrassing than I remember. I remembered it being utter trash. That is much worse than I remembered. That is, he did not realize, like, hey, dude, you cannot just let your PR team go wild. That's like they may as well have had Imbermex Kendi write that, dude. Puke, puke, puke. Ew, I puked. I threw up. I love you guys, though, and that's where I'm going to cut this one off. Bye-bye.